How do you write a character that may be copyright protected? You're going to want to stick around because we're going to be chatting about strategies and what our technique can be when developing a character that's could potentially be infringing on a bigger franchise. So stay tuned. Welcome to Kaufman Writes. I'm Kaufman, and this is your daily live stream for writing motivation, strategy, inspiration, and maybe just a little bit of procrastination. But I won't tell anyone. I'm your host, Kaufman, and we're going to hop right into it. And by the way, if you stick around till the end of the stream, I'll be doing my daily writing sprint. So if you need to get some writing in today, I got you covered. I'm getting at the perfect moment with Last Scarecrow, and I know I have some really, really great work. Some absolutely great work to get into with how far the story is coming along. All right, and let's hop into the comments. Hey, what's up, Marta? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Welcome, welcome. Greetings. I hope the creative energy is treating you well today. All right, so by the way, if you're watching on the replay, I got you covered because we're going to be adding the timestamps at the end of the stream so you can hop to the part of the video that brings you the most value. Okay, perfect. So I thought as we've been developing this character, if you've missed out on the last couple workshops, we've been developing a brand new story about Hermes the Cat traveling through purgatory. It is such a fun experience. Make sure that if you've missed on some of the previous workshops, I've linked it down in the YouTube description down below. So that way you can go check it out and see how much we fleshed out the world of Hermes the Cat. The core story is Hermes the Cat wakes up in purgatory, surrounded by alligators, travels through all 9 levels of purgatory. He's a selfish individual. He has to overcome himself, overcome his past, fight through characters. We got devils, we got alligators, we got aliens. We got his best friend's going to be a flying mouse, and it is going to be quite the journey. We're on quite the venture with Hermes the Cat. Hey, what's up, my man? What's up, Eli? Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hope you didn't forget about me after all these days. I know we were dying without you, Marta. Wherever did you go? Wish I could hear. I wish I could hear. I'm at the carnival with my teens. Awesome, totally cool. Have fun at the carnival, by the way. That's awesome. I know, alligators. We have some super cool characters. Okay, so as we've been putting together Hermes the Cat, we've started thinking, like, what are other predominantly well-known cat characters in the media? Puss in Boots. So the challenge that we have is how do we continue to define our character, Hermes the Cat, without infringing on copyright, on bigger IPs that could potentially have similarities. So I'm going to walk you through my technique and what I would go about doing if I was developing a character based on a bigger franchise. But first, what better way to understand Puss in Boots and understand that IP that we're working with? We're going to check out a scene to give us an idea. All right, so I got it queued up here. Let's see. I think this will be good. So you should be able to hear the audio. Perfect. And let me make sure I got it on my end. All right. So I just have a couple scenes. We'll play 2 scenes, quick scenes, to give us an idea of who is this character if you're not too familiar with the original franchise with Puss in Boots. All right. And let's watch. Let's see what we got.
Look, a little cat.
Look out, Shrek! You got a piece!
It's a cat, donkey. Come here, little kitty, kitty, kitty. Come on, little kitty. Come here. Oh, come here, little kitty.
Oh, Shrek, I'm coming!
Come on! Oh, get it off! Oh, get it off! Oh, get it off! Oh! Ah!
Look out, Shrek!
Oh, get it
Hold
off!
still! Shrek, hold still!
Oh!
Did I miss?
No, you got them.
Now ye augur, pray for mercy from Puss in Wood. Ooh, I'll kill that cat.
Airball.
Oh, that is nasty.
What do you reckon we should do with him?
I say we take the sword and neuter him right here. Give him the Bob Barker treatment. Oh, madre, no, por favor. Please, I implore you. It was nothing personal, senor. I was doing it only for my family. My mother, she's sick, and my father lives off their garbage. The king offered me marching gold, and I have a litter of brothers.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Fiona's father paid you to do this?
The rich king? See.
Well, so much for Dad's royal blessing.
Oh, come on, Shrek, don't feel bad. Almost everybody that meets you wants to kill you.
Gee, thanks. Maybe Fiona would have been better off if I were some sort of Prince Charming.
See, that's what the king said. Oh. Sorry. I thought that question was directed at me.
Shrek, Fiona knows you'll do anything for her.
Well, it's not like I wouldn't change if I could.
All right, and then I'm going to skip ahead to the next, another good Puss in Boots scene.
You.
Me?
Yeah, baby. Go! 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, 3, 4, cha-cha-cha, 1, 2. What? There is one word for you, kitty softpaws. Me wow.
I know you have quite a reputation with the ladies. Mr. Frisky 2 times.
I've also been known as the fairy lover. But that was before I met you.
You don't know me, Puss. I'm not who you think I am. I'm all about the score.
Come on. Look me in the eyes and tell me all you care about is the gold.
Puss.
Kitty. Oh my God! New partners! Do not fall for his animal magnetism. Stay focused. Ah! What? So, I have been thinking, Miss Soft Paws, that when we go our separate ways, we can go our separate ways together.
Puss, you have to go now.
You do not have to push me away anymore. You can trust me.
But give it up for the legends of San Ricardo, Humpty and Puss. We did it!
I'm calling it a night, guys.
Kitty, stay up with us.
No, I feel a terrible coming on.
Okay, yeah. Have fun with that.
We should give her some privacy. I never thought we would get here. After all we went through, to pull this off together. It is good to have my brother back.
Yep. Sure is.
Well, we have a big day tomorrow.
All right, and we'll do one last one
Relax.
or
I have
another
Puss in
version of him.
Boots. I laugh at death. You see? And anyway, I am a cat. I have 9 lives.
And how many times have you died already?
I
don't know. I never counted. I am not really a math guy, you know?
Gato.
Take it easy, doctor. Let's see. There was the running of the bulls in Pamplona. Hola, señorita. Do you like gazpacho? Guess it's not your night, fellas. And I'm telling you, a cat always lands on his feet. Watch. No, Puss in Boots doesn't need a spotter. Watch. No need to pull into port. This will revolutionize travel. Watch. Excuse me. Does this have shellfish in it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Puss, I think you set the oven too high.
I am a master of the baking. Watch. And then there was the giant today. So what is that? Like a 4?
That makes 8, Puss. You are down to your last life. My prescription, no more adventures for you. You need to retire.
Me? Retire? Are you the village comedian as well?
Puss, is there any safe place you can go? Any special someone you can rely on in this moment of need?
I am Puss in Boots, loved by one and all.
Anyone in particular?
I mean, how could I possibly choose?
This is the address of Mama Luna. She is a cat fancier, always on the lookout for a new lap cat. You will be safe there.
Lap cat? I am no lap cat, doctor. I am Puss in Boots.
Not anymore. Barber's orders. I mean, doctor's orders. And remember, Puss, death comes for us all. Treat?
You've really got to work on your bedside manner.
All right, that is good. That is a good couple excerpts there. I think the only Puss in Boots franchise I had seen was the original Shrek franchise, the original Shrek movies, and I'm sure they've developed his character so much throughout his franchise. So just watching those couple scenes gives us a good indication of who is Puss in Boots' character from an overall character perspective. Now, as we think about developing our own character, we have Hermes the Cat. So the challenge we're faced is, how do we develop Hermes the Cat without infringing upon a popular franchise like Puss in Boots? So the first thing that I would personally do, now let me change my screen sharing. All right, so the first thing that I would do is I would first off go to Google. I would say, what is, let me think, what is Puss in Boots, or what is copyright infringement? So first we want to make sure and go do the research, right? We want to go see, we're just going to go for something very general. As a general matter, copyright infringement, let me pull this up. As a general matter, copyright infringement occurs when a copyrighted work is reproduced, distributed, performed, publicly displayed, or made into a derivative work without the permission of the copyright owner. Okay, so as we're looking into our creative purposes, made into a derivative work without the permission of the copyright owner. Now, how do I create a character that doesn't infringe on copywritten material? So you see, this is the first part I'm doing. I'm just going to do a little research. You can avoid by not copying, distributing. That talks about making derivative works, how to avoid. First, it is important to differentiate between graphically depicted characters, but rather, okay, like Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, and fictional characters that are not graphically depicted, but rather require the reader to conjure an image of that character as the story develops. Okay, so that's basically saying, it's touching on, there's a certain image when people think of the original material. Let's see, how to alter an image. Create, so significantly altering an image or creating a transformative work so that what you create no longer resembles the original. I think this is actually a really good quote right here. Really, really good quote. So I'm actually going to take that. We're going to make that a new banner because that's a really great quote about copyright. Copyright. Let's see. Let's say avoiding copyright. And I'm going to take that. We're going to make that the new banner. So avoiding copyright, significantly altering an image or creating a transformative work so that what you create no longer resembles the original image. Now, I'm sure many of you are probably already familiar with this concept. This goes into copyright and fair use. this is the same idea for things like spoofs. Think about things like something like South Park, or like those animated shows. Anytime we see a movie or a TV show where it's very, very clearly talking about another franchise. Or think about like reaction content. Think about when we watch stuff, or like YouTubers watch stuff online, how do they get away with not getting copyright strikes? How do they get away with not dealing with lawsuits? How do news YouTubers, how do they get away with talking about live action news events, with talking about public things without getting copyright, without getting lawsuits? You have to be aware of what it is that you're would technically be infringing upon, and then you have to be extremely clear that what it is that you're creating is not is not basically that you're not making money off of that original source material. So for the instance of the character, we essentially have to transform our character to a point that any of the key differences aren't going to be resembled in what we know as Puss in Boots. So what we're going to do, and as a side note, it is anytime you take something that's transformative, you will always run the risk, right? You could always be running that chance that somebody somewhere could be like, well, your character did this thing and this resembles this image or this thing that this character did. And there's actually, I have a brilliant example. Oh my God, this is actually the funniest example ever. Winnie the Pooh. Let's see. Pooh horror movie. Oh my God, this movie was like a freaking nightmare. Oh my God, I couldn't even watch it. Oh my God. All right, so you guys see this right here, this Winnie the Pooh, right? So I want to say, I think last year, within the last couple years, Winnie the Pooh as a franchise became public source material. It became available for public use and public distribution because it had passed, I think it was like either the 30 to 50 year mark of it no longer being copyright protected. However, the ownership of Winnie the Pooh has trademarked and copyrighted all these different things around Winnie the Pooh. Things like Winnie the Pooh eating a jar of honey, or Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, and all these different things. So when it became available to the public, one of the few things that writers that people could then use the Pooh character for, somebody created this horror movie, but you recognize how the flannel, how basically nothing here speaks to Winnie the Pooh beyond that he is looks like a screwed up bear. It's because he couldn't have used the same outfit. They couldn't have used a jar of honey because that would have infringed on copyright. It couldn't have used any like Pooh's house, or else it would have infringed on copyright. So I think this is just a really good example of when you're creating a character that might resemble something, you have to be careful about all the things that you put into creating your character. So as we think about our character, Puss in Boots versus Hermes. Now let me pull up my Word doc. All right. So as we think about Puss in Boots and Hermes, and I'm going to make this the banner on the bottom now. Let's tick that. Okay. So when we think about the two characters, here's what we have from last week. Hermes, we've taken Hermes through quite a character development. His story is really coming to life. I've been having so much fun with Hermes. I'll do a very brief recap. We know Hermes, it's going to be a Scrooge type story. He's the protagonist is Hermes the Cat. And as you can see from my background, we got Puss in Boots. And I'm not necessarily saying this is Hermes, but let's see, I'm not necessarily saying this is Hermes, but I wanted to just give a general idea of what a Hermes type character could look like. This version has a sword. I'm like, all right, well, let's give him a sword as well. So as we think about our character and we think about Hermes, his strengths is using catnip, a cuteness factor. He's fast, normally lands on his feet. Things very normal for cats. His weaknesses is he's a lone wolf. He's catnip. He's addicted. He's headstrong. He's an asshole, or very much going to make him an asshole. And he's spoiled and has no sense of humor. A lot of fun things we'll be able to play around. His core desires are to stay the same gender for a change. Maybe he's changed gender every life. And then we go over a bunch of different desires. And we didn't get to touching on some of these other ideas last time, but we know that when developing a character, you want to make sure you're asking the questions of what do they love, what do they hate, how do they respond to the core emotions. And then we have the core story here. Hermes has to escape purgatory by traveling through the 9 levels of hell and understand why he was revived for a 10th life. Enemies might be alligators in disguise as demons. His supporting friend will be a flying mouse. We love the flying mouse character. So, as we think about Puss in Boots, we need to think about what are the core Puss in Boots. What things make this character unique? So come join me for the conversation. What is now that we've kind of gone through this and we just watched the Puss in Boots, the source material, what things stand out for Puss in Boots in general? Feel free to drop a comment. So as I think about Puss in Boots, whether that's like a physical thing or whether that's a personality trait, we want to think about what are the things that are unique to the Puss in Boots character based on some of the source material we just saw, or if you've seen other Puss in Boots movies before. Okay, so I know he has that, I forgot what type of hat that is. It's like a fedora type hat with the feather. That's like a trademark style for him. And let's see what else we got. Great question, Marta. Hermes is our protagonist for our cat protagonist for our story we've been developing as a group over the past couple weeks. Confident and arrogant. Absolutely. That's a great one. Puss in Boots is definitely confident and arrogant. His thing is canned tuna, which that's going to be similar to ours, Hermes, but his thing is catnip. Very clear difference there, so that's perfect. Thanks for touching upon that. Oh, Bethany, you know. Yeah, Marta, where we've been developing this as story about Hermes the cat. Okay, so then we have canned tuna. And Marta, by the way, I'm sure you could draw like a really cool like anime styled picture of Hermes. Hey, what's up, Alpha? Welcome to the stream, my friend. We're just talking about what are the things that are unique to the Puss in Boots character, because we want to distinguish for copyright reasons how we can create our character Hermes, how we can make him different. Beloved brother of Hermes who died tragically. Puss in Boots was the beloved brother who died tragically. Now, there's a couple ways where we can actually get around the copyright, but we'll touch upon that in just a second. So stay tuned. I'll hop into how do we get around the copyright so we can actually reference Puss in Boots. But what else? What else is unique to Puss in Boots? He has the sword. He has that very specific, forgot what type. That's like a fencer's sword. He has the boots. Has those boots too large for him. Let's see what other things. And let's see, Eli. He will use other abilities when his sword play or his confidence fails to defeat his enemy. He'll use the cute face to get pity mercy from enemies. Eli, that is a perfect example, right? So a clear action that Puss in Boots uses is he uses the cute / adorable cat face to get mercy, to distract, it's to distract enemies. Right. And that is a trademark thing, right? We had seen that in one of the clips earlier. He used that like adorable kitten face. And that is a trademark thing that we know Puss in Boots does. Right. Okay. What else? Adam, I know, Marta. I'm sure you could come up with a really cool cat pick for us. Let's see. And make sure, March, like if you missed out or if any of you missed out on any of like the Hermes stuff, we've been developing Hermes the Cat, his story, in the past couple workshops. Linked in the YouTube description down below is some of the more popular workshops. We've been working on him for about 2 weeks now in the character deep dives, the story structure, and the world building. I'll probably put together a playlist that highlights the Hermes the Cat episodes. Let's see. Yep. Boots are a specific type. Absolutely. Could be markings that shows up in different places, but it's a specific design. Yeah, I'd say it's more just like his look, the type of cat he is, that orange reddish look. Let's see. Let me drop. Orange reddish look, kind of how like Garfield kind of has that look as well, actually. He has a unique cat-like look. So, all right. And then what else? Yep, Puss in Boots with sword. Okay. He likes milk. Okay, good to know. So milk is his love. All right, so he's a bit of a scoundrel. Perfect. And then he is yep, so orange tabby. Thanks for clarifying that. I would say unique orange tabby. Could be a let's see, could be a band holding feathers around his leg that he uses for various things. Yep, that totally makes sense. Absolutely. So I think we have a good list. Oh, let me actually pull up the list. He is absolutely a ladies' man. And I think that, let's see, did I put confident? So this, we'll put under some of his character traits. We have confident, arrogant, and charming. Absolutely charming. Perfect. So I think we have a good list so far for Puss in Boots. Now, when we think about creating our own character, right? We think about Hermes. We want to make sure that as we're developing the character, that the traits that we give him, the type of visual that we give him are completely different than each of these things, right? We want to make sure that if Hermes is going to be wearing a hat, he's not going to be wearing that same type of fedora hat, so we don't chance infringing on copyright. Of course, maybe you could write a story about a cat that has a hat and it can get away and nobody says anything, right? In my experience and from what I've heard of people, especially big companies like Disney, all it takes is for you to have spent years working on your story, and then it gets published, it goes popular, you make money, and then you get a lawsuit from Disney worth a lot of money by a big company who has 20 times the amount of money than you do. So we're just not even going to chance that. We're going to make sure that our character is as unique as possible and that we can prove with a doubt or beyond a shadow of a doubt that our character is absolutely as unique. Awesome. So as I look at each of these things, I think this gives us some very good ideas. So when I think about Hermes and I think about, let's see, I'll do another list here for Hermes, and we're going to give Hermes the cat. Now we're going to ask ourselves, how will we make each trait different than Puss in Boots? All right, so I don't even think we're going to give Hermes a hat. I don't think he needs it. I don't think Hermes needs a hat as a character thing. I mean, he can always find one. Like if he's in the Egyptian type, like he could find a hat, but like I don't think his character actually needs a trademark hat. Yeah, Zorro hat. That's what it is. It's the Zorro hat. Could be a band holding feathers. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with the Puss in Boots as well. I'm familiar with some like the original Shrek movies, but it's been a while. Hey, what's up, Kat? Welcome to the stream, my friend. We're talking about today, how do you create characters when it's without infringing on copyright? We've come up with a really cool character called Hermes the Cat, who's trying to get out of purgatory. So we're kind of brainstorming and doing some practice here. Feel free to join the conversation, my friend. I hope life's treating you well. Let's see. The same guy who plays Zorro. Yep. That was intentional. 100% intentional. There's a reason they got Antonio Banderas to play Puss in Boots. Let's see. Yep. So I think this is a good strategy, right? So we want to think about what, based off his character traits, how is Hermes going to be different? Right now, he is, I mean, he is kind of infringing on Aragon as well, but I think he's more, let's see, spoiled. He is spoiled. We could make him maybe more of a mob boss than a swordsman. Spoiled, more of a mob boss type character. I don't think that we've really wanted to make Hermes charming. He's not very charming, and he's more of a lone wolf type, right? He's definitely his own character. And I think the Cantoon is easy. His is catnip. We know that catnip addiction alert. Or like Hermes is addicted to catnip. Catnip addiction alert, which will be fun. If we give him weapons, like I say we give him something that's just not a sword, so we don't chance it, right? I would say that we give him other types of weapons, like maybe, of course, we could say like it'd be fine with him using his claws because that's something that any cat would do. But I would say if we do give him a weapon, we give him a different type of weapon. Hermes is a swashbuckler fighter style. Interesting. Hermes is a swashbuckler fighting style. I mean, I like that. I think my only challenge with that is like, how would that differentiate between Puss in Boots? Because Puss in Boots has the fencing type sword, so that could be mistaken. So I would say let's make it a little more different, just so we don't chance that. As much as I love swashbucklers, like I love pirates, so let's see. And I think that would be an absolutely great idea, right? What if he's not a fighter? He's extremely intelligent, right? He would rather use his cunning over his fighting. And maybe that's because he tried fighting in his early lives. He tried fighting early lives and was beat down. He's an extremely intelligent. So we're going to be, actually, we'll make his weakness, his intelligence is going to be a weakness as well. Intelligence will be both a strength and, if I could spell strength right, strength and a weakness. Perfect. Great idea. Hermes is John Wick. Hermes Wick. We're just going to put John Hermes Wick. That cracks me up, Bethany. Wolverine claws. Is he like a spoiled fat cat, like a dandy type character? Not like, I'm not sure dandy, but when we think of when I think of a spoiled fat cat, I think of Garfield. I wouldn't say that he's a fat cat, but I think he's definitely spoiled. Absolutely spoiled. I think because he was revered as a deity cat in so many of his early lives, it's led to the sense of being spoiled. Oh, yeah. Puss is absolutely a swashbuckler. That makes sense. Katana is a weapon. Boredom causes him to misbehave. I love that. Let's see. Super intelligence causes him to routinely underestimate his opponents and overestimate his own ability to solve problems. Eli, I like what you're putting down. Absolutely. Let's see. Super intelligence. Let's see. Causes him to underestimate his opponents and overestimate his ability to solve problems. Beautiful. I love that. Great suggestion. So let's see. What other things do we want to make different? Puss in Boots, Fence Your Sword, Boots too large for him. I don't think we've yet determined how we want Hermes to look, right? So clearly we're not going to make Hermes an orange cat. I know we've played around with the idea of having Hermes maybe change genders in different throughout different lives. We could absolutely do that. I think as long as we make him different colors, we just don't make him orange. We don't do an orange cat, just then we don't even have to chance it. So I would say in this story, it would, when we think about a cat in purgatory, what color scheme is going to make him stand out? Bethany, I like that because I was thinking potentially a black cat. Wouldn't it be interesting if he's been predominantly like different colors throughout his life, and this is the first time that he's been brought back as a black cat? But the audience doesn't know that until they start seeing him in different lives. I think that would be fun. So let's make him a black cat. But we would want there to be contrast. So black cat, let's give him secondary color, maybe white or gray, with a third color maybe being like a brown, potentially. We could always play around with that. Let's see. He could very well be the smartest cat in purgatory, or at least he thinks he's the smartest cat in purgatory. And that's probably why maybe he's not motivated in a lot of the first half of the story to really try. A lot of the things are going to happen to him until he realizes the moral and the lesson he has to make halfway through the story. It could. I think we should absolutely make him a fat Persian cat in one of his lives that we get to see. Because I think in each life he experiences, he's going to be kind of a different version. And I think during one of his pampered lives, like maybe the Egyptian life, he's like extremely fat cat and just like, and we could play around with the comedy. Like that would be fun. That would be a lot of fun, right? He's like, I was a fat cat, I forgot. Let's see. Mancoon. I think we have an antagonist. We have another cat to go up against him, Bethany. Mancoon, the giant cat. Antagonist. I'm just going to put antagonist. Question mark. Mancoon, the giant cat raccoon. We're going to have a cat raccoon. A cat coon. A rat cat. We'll go with that one. Let's see. Hey, guys. Yeah, Rescue Rangers. Let's see. An eye patch? Absolutely. Hey, what's up, Vaughn? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Let's see. Eye patch. We could give him an eye patch. An eye patch would actually be fun. Eye patch would be fun. We could give Hermes an eye patch. What if we started him off with an eye patch, only for him to learn in like the second level that he doesn't actually need it, and he's not actually blind in one eye, or maybe he uses it as a tactic, because that would actually go with the idea that he's super smart and he thinks that he's so smart nobody's going to recognize that it's fake. Hermes has a fake eye patch. Kind of a fun idea. Let's see. As a drawing person, what eye color? I am generally always Russian blue. I love it. I was going to say blue as well, Bethany. Let's go. Not just blue, but Russian blue. Thanks for mentioning that, Vaughn. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely feel free to share. Really appreciate it. Let's see. Sorry. Silver Eyes would actually be fun too. We could do Silver Eyes. You could go one blue, one green is another interesting look. Marta, why don't you have fun with it? You pick colors that look good and show us what you get. Let's see. The reason pirates wore eye patches was so they could go from the bright sunshine above deck to the dark below. Maybe Hermes uses one for similar reasons. That's actually a really great strategy, because Hermes, one of his lives, maybe it took place on a pirate ship. Maybe he was around a bunch of pirates. I think that's a great, great thing. And he kind of adopted that as a use. Adopted from use of his life as a scallywag. Oh, I'll just call him a scallywag. All right. So we have some really great character development things, some absolutely great strategies here. And by the way, like, this is a very good moment. Let me like commend all you with this cool background noise. Woo! Really good idea. Really good. And I just wanted to say I appreciate all of you giving some really cool ideas as we continue to develop Hermes the Cat. So that was super cool. Now, as we ask ourselves, how are we, the last question we're left with, so I think we've given Hermes a lot of unique traits that are going to make Hermes stand out from Puss in Boots. I think we have a really great start. Now, the question that we want to ask is, what if we want Hermes to, in some way, shape, or form, reference Puss in Boots throughout the story? We technically could. Now, the way we would go about it is we're never actually going to have a character like Puss in Boots displayed. Let's see. We will, let me put this. How do we reference Puss in Boots without infringing on copyright? All right, so what we're going to do is we can reference certain particulars about it because it's pop culture. If we're referencing something that is them basically talking about pop culture, that is them talking about public record, we can actually get away with referencing it as long as we're not using Puss in Boots or anything that's Puss in Boots related in it, but we can reference it as a source material. So in the story, we can reference, we would never actually use Puss in Boots' name, and we would make it very vague. We'd make it vague enough so that way it could be subjective, but enough to give the audience the hint of like, oh, they could be talking about Puss in Boots, or oh, they could be talking about Garfield. So what we want to do is we want to have Hermes consistently reference other well-known cats, right? So Puss in Boots is one. Garfield would be another popular one. And then how do we reference him? We would never actually say the name Puss in Boots. He would be referred to as, oh, that cat with the, let's see, we would have to make it vague enough where it could be subjective. Let's see, that cat, let's see, it would say, I hate that. One time I fought a duel. Let's see. One time the way I would word this, one time I dueled a daredevil of a cat. He thought he could outwit me with his adorable, with his fencing, with his fancy fencing techniques. And that adorable face tactic, right? So I've now just touched on a couple things. I've touched on two things, right? His fencing and that adorable face tactic, right? Anybody who's seen Puss in Boots will get the reference, right? But we're not actually going to say it's Puss in Boots. Technically, if Disney came with us as a lawsuit, we could be like, hey, that could reference any cat, right? So we're just making it as ambiguous a reference as possible. Garfield. One time I'll put this here. One time I dined with the fattest cat I ever met. And let's see, I don't know too many Garfield references, but you get the point, right? So essentially we're making references without, we're making references that could be contextual, that could be subjective, that could, anybody who's seen a franchise that's Puss in Boots or seen a franchise with Garfield could be like, oh, it could be them. And that actually makes them like it more because, oh, maybe he's referencing it, maybe they're not. Let's see, it looks like we have some great questions here. Vaughn, I don't say, you said, does anyone know that I kind of created a cat noir when I went to Mexico? I didn't know that, Vaughn, but that'd be super cool to check out. Thanks for sharing that. That's cool that you created a cat noir. Let's see. Marcella, you have a great question here. For my story with my Barbie-like characters, do you think it's enough that they're all their own people, but the doll they're based on is obviously Barbie with a different name? I From a certain point, do you think it's enough that they're all their own people, but the doll they're based on is obviously Barbie with a different name? I think what I would research and make sure that's clear is understanding what are the things that make the Barbie doll. What are things that are unique to the Barbie doll franchise? And Marcella, you're actually in luck because the Barbie movie, because I mean, did well. I'm sure you've seen it. The Barbie movie relies on a lot of those franchise things about Barbie and Ken. So I would actually, like, if I was creating a Barbie story, I would look at the two between the original Barbie doll, and then I would actually look at the Barbie movie and see what are specific franchise things that when I watch the movie, how do I know that's a Barbie thing? And then when in my story, if I'm referencing a dolls or I'm referencing something that could be mistaken as Barbie, you could still reference it. That's fine, as long as you're not touching or using any things that could technically be mistaken, right? So if you have a doll-like character, I wouldn't put it in any type of dream house that would suggest that it is like Barbie, right? I wouldn't give my Barbie character, I wouldn't give her a Ken-like character that would in any way, shape, or form suggest it's like Ken. I would give them different things so that way I don't chance infringing on copyright. Absolutely great question. 100%. And I think, like, if you ever want feedback on it, Marcella, definitely feel free to send it as a shout out. I'd be happy to take a look at it if you ever need feedback. And let's see. By the way, this is actually a great point, Marcella. You brought up a great point. I'm actually running. So this is my time. Let me do a quick ad. I'm actually doing a special right now. 30 to 60% off coaching, editing, and ghostwriting services. I know, being a writer, especially if you love writing, you're passionate about it, but that's not your main job, right? A lot of you, I know that writing is a side passionate hobby that you love and you want to get that story published, but it's not your main source of income. So I wanted to drop my prices. I'm trying it for the first time. I'm dropping my prices for this weekend only, just to see if A, I can help out the community, and B, to see if it's effective. Let me see. I think I threw up, I had a picture ad. Perfect. I'll drop this real fast. Let's see, I'll do that. So you see, this is just a little ad that I created, but essentially right now, 30 to 60% off coaching, editing, and ghostwriting services. Like, y'all should definitely check it out. I will, let me see. I was like, I'll drop this really fast and show my website. All right, perfect. So brand new. So I actually just brought this. I'll do that. Looks a little better. So literally brand new. I actually just updated my website. Super proud of it. So you should definitely check it out. But so the services and pricing, if you need writing coaching, right? And the way writer coaching works is essentially you purchase an hour. Usually it's $75. One-time thing I'm trying out for $30. Essentially, you purchase however many hours you want. Only $30 an hour is super cheap. That's like probably the cheapest you'll ever be able to get a writing coach for if they have experience like I do. I have a creative writing degree and I've been writing as a hobby for over 30 years now. And then essentially you can credit the hour towards sessions, 30 or 60-minute sessions, or towards emails for editing, story outlines, or strategy, so on and so forth. These also list my editing prices. Let's say that you've been thinking about, like, hey, I know I need to hire an editor. You should purchase right now because these prices, I discounted them by about 30. It's actually more like 30 to 40%. So I wanted to make sure to give a shout out today, only because Marcella, you brought that up. So that was a great time. So definitely let me know if you're interested in any of those services, whether that's coaching. Coaching is great if you need an accountability partner and you kind of like struggle with writing consistently. So definitely let me know. I'll drop my email. You can email me at kaufman@creativeghost.com. If you want to know more, if you're interested, feel free to email me there if you want to know more about the services. Okay, so let me drop that. And I want to hop back into the comments real fast. All right, perfect. So we were back at Puss in Boots. Let's see what else we had. All right, we touched upon those. Vaughn, you're writing a Don Quixote story. I absolutely love it. I mean, it might be a little similar, absolutely, because Don Quixote is known for the windmill and the love and the prostitute scene are both very powerful scenes. It's different since Don Quixote classics aren't in are more publicly open. You'd have to go check what is the copyright on older materials. Anything that's been done within the anything that is over, I think it's 50 years, is public domain, which means it can be easily used by the public, but there's certain things you have to be careful. So I would just research and make sure that you can. One. I like this. A noise of purring heard in the distance. Hello, brother. A voice from the shadows and green eyes appeared, and out lurked from the darkness a cat in blue boots. Appeared boots too small for his feet. Right? What a great way of making Hermes a little different. He knew right away who this large cat was, his brother, who left him also long ago. Absolutely love that. There's another really great reference. Marcella, you should definitely check out that Simpsons episode. Sounds like if they spoofed Barbie. Another good reference. Yeah, and that's totally understandable, right? So the writing is a process, right? And you have to be at the right point in the time to be able to afford it. If you're, let's say you spend and then you don't use it, like then you're just wasting money, right? So this isn't writing, coaching, and editing isn't for everybody. It's for people who have some extra spending money, who can invest in their writing. The way that I look at it is if I go to Starbucks, I'm spending anywhere between $5 to $10 on a cup of coffee. And that's on a day that lasts me maybe a couple hours. Or I could reinvest that as thinking about, okay, that's about a month's worth of Starbucks towards my writing, towards something I'm passionate about. And of course, if you're going to like edit, publish your book, you technically don't need to hire a professional editor to publish it. But your book will stand out and be so much more impactful if it is professionally edited, because there's so many things that we ourselves miss as writers. I need to have my book edited, like, amen, when I get Last Scarecrow to the right point. Let's see, how long is this promotion going on for? I'm afraid I won't be able to until next month at least. Right now, the promotion is going on for this month. Marcella, or not this month. It's going on for this weekend. It's just a very short promotion I'm trying out right now. What I would suggest is just when it gets a little closer, email me, and then we could talk about kind of what you're looking for, whether you're looking for an editor or a coach, and we can go from there. Especially if you saw this promotion, I'd be happy to give you a discount when we hit that point. Only because I know it sounds like you're not in the right place right now. So I'll make that as a shout out for any of you guys who are here in the stream. If you are in this stream, make sure that if, let's say a month from now, you're like, yo, I need editing or coaching services, I'll give you a discount, but you have to reference the stream because I will not remember. Be like, yo, Jared or Kaufman, you said you could give me a discount still? Reference the stream and I'll take care of you in a month. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I'm about trying to help out the writing community. Oh, anyone interested in a pro? Oh, thanks so much, Vaughn. That's very sweet. The only reason why I'm a priority person is because of Jared's help in my book. Yeah, we had a really great time going through Vaughn's book. Oh, it was a great experience. Thanks for the shout out, Vaughn. I appreciate that. Shrek did a lot of other movie references, possibly used by permission. Yep. So a lot of times, big companies like that, when you see a movie that clearly showcases Starbucks on the front, big companies invest money to use that as advertising. There's whole things with advertising and deals, especially because I mean, like a thing like Disney, they have the money, right? And those movie budgets are a lot because a portion of them are going to marketing and partnership and advertising. Really good call out, Mary. Thanks for sharing that, Vaughn. Yeah, I did a $500 option and he credited my account more than he knows on top of just editing. He also helped me steer my mass in my life. So super awesome guy. I recommend. I appreciate it, my man. You get a heart. Thank you. What I found is from the coaching side of it, a lot of the times as writers, we because we're writing as a hobby and we're writing as a side thing, we're usually able to stay consistent and accountable when we're really into it. But the problem is when life gets difficult or when life gets like super tough or you start dealing with family trauma or school or work, you easily get distracted, right? So essentially a coach helps to just keep your habit consistent because at the end of the day, the goal is to get your book published. So absolutely. I can do any word count on a book. I've simply only listed the prices up to 100K so far, since the average person isn't going to give me or doesn't have a book that's larger than 100K. But yeah, absolutely. If you have something that's over 100K, Bethany, let me know what the word count is and I can give you a price. I want to say, I think the biggest story I was asked to edit was probably about the 90K mark. But that if you know the average fantasy price or the average word count, at least for the fantasy genre, ranges between 90 to 120K words. That's like the average. And I mean, like to me, I'm not really going to care about word count. For me, the word count is more important for the pricing portion of it. In terms of the overall story, as y'all know, like you guys see my writing, I do the writing thing every day. You see how I do my editing and reviews on my Saturday show, but I focus more on the story, the core story. I focus on the character development because every story is about a character journey and my approach revolves around the character journey and then works out from there, right? And then we're also focusing on the grammar, the dialogue, the world building, the structure, the plot, and so on and so forth. Yeah, Eli, thanks for sending that up. By the way, like you actually submitted your story. This is an absolutely great call out. For those of you who want feedback on your story, this is a free service I got. My story and critique show is tomorrow. If you want an excerpt for a free reading and a free critique, send a 1 to 5 page excerpt to kaufman@thecreativeghost.com with those dashes in between. Free excerpts. I think right now I have about 7 to 8 submissions. So that's for tomorrow's show. Make sure you send a submission. I try to get through as many as possible. But yeah, thanks for mentioning that, Eli. I'm definitely looking forward to hopping into your story tomorrow. Let's see, Marcel, you brought up a good point about your story. One way I like to think of my premise is if Malibu Stacy was a POV character, my world's Barbie is Melanie, and all the brands are more like subcultures of dolls. Interesting. Okay, so the overall story is more on it kind of sounds like it's more on like the doll industry, or at least it's referencing more of the industry of dolls as well. Yeah, I mean, I would take the same approach, Marcella, with that we just did with Puss in Boots, right? I would just say like anytime I'm going to reference a franchise, whether that's Barbie or whether that's a notable doll, I would just be aware of what are things that I could do that could possibly be I could be infringing upon. I would take that same exact approach. And then even if I referenced, right, if But now this is different. So actually, let me just say, if your story, I'm assuming, Marcella, that your story is a piece of fantasy, fiction, and it's supposed to be based on a character journey and a narrative. If your story is a spoof, it's completely different. If you are doing a spoof, you can get away with referencing basically anything, but you have to be clear that it's a spoof. That is how shows like South Park, Simpsons, that's how they get away with talking about franchises all the time. If your story is not a spoof, which I don't think it is, you have to be aware of what your could potentially be infringing upon. Oh no, Bethany, grammar's nothing. We literally all suck at grammar. You guys, you've been seeing my storytelling when I do my writing sprints. I make grammar mistakes all the time, and I have Grammarly turned on as like a side, as a supportive thing. The most writers, especially in their rough draft, have so many grammar mistakes. Usually we don't catch grammar mistakes until later drafts because the focus isn't like make the best things. The focus is have fun. And then we can refine the grammar. I usually refine the grammar as the last step because when we think about editing a book, your first focus is you need to make sure that the story is intact. You need to make sure that the character journey works, the plot is clear, and that it's just an engaging story. Once the characters and the plot is clear, then you can go focus on dialogue, make sure the dialogue works, and then you go focus on the structure and the grammar. Grammar is always last because if you change things, because like let's say like a character, a plot line doesn't work, the grammar won't matter if you have to rewrite it. So you want to make sure that the core story is intact. This is usually called a developmental edit in the editing world. And let's see, would you discount a re-edit on something you already edited once? Would you discount? Yeah, absolutely. So and this is something, so anytime with any of my clients, anytime somebody signs up for my services through my company, The Creative Ghost, returning clients get discounts. Absolutely. And the discounted price would be based on whatever my current rate is and based on whatever your original rate was when you paid for it. Because like all businesses, right? Like this is the pricing now. I don't know whether my prices will be higher in a year. I don't know whether they'll be lower. I can only speak to what I'm currently offering at this point in time. But that's an absolutely great question. Thanks for asking. All the Melanie dolls have a different relationship to and opinion on their base doll. The recurring theme is how they all deviate from their factory default. I absolutely love that. Marcel, you know what this reminds me of? This is an older movie which is about dolls. Like when I think about toys or dolls, one of my favorite like older movies, I think this was a 90s movie, was what was it? Small Soldiers? What was it called? Small Soldiers? I have to know now. I loved this movie when I was younger. It was like the cheesiest like live action movie with these dolls. Was it Small Soldiers? Yep, it was. It was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to bring this up. This cracks me up. This was like a movie about dolls where it's basically spoofing the oh my God, I love this movie when I was younger. Oh my, that's what I think of when I think of a doll movie from when I was a kid. But it kind of sounds like, because this movie was literally about the dolls coming to life and then them basically growing out of beyond their factory settings. That's what it just made me think of. I think that's a really cool concept. And I think anybody who has had a doll, anybody who has had a Barbie will automatically resonate with that story. I think that definitely has very broad appeal. And clearly people love Barbie since the Barbie movie just blew up box office last year. So clearly there's a current desire and trend for that type of doll. And I think that's fun. I think just when they give opinions, I think you just have to be clear. I think if I was writing that, I would have opinions be on fictitious factory doll companies. I would have their opinions be on fictitious companies. I would create a fictitious company, but have the traits of the company be very similar to like Hasbro. Have the traits of the company be very similar to things that the Barbie company does. So then you don't even have to worry about infringement. And then if you want to reference a specific thing like Barbie, you have to be vague enough where it wouldn't be infringing on copyright. Yeah, I agree. So I think that that for me as a person who doesn't really have strong feelings about dolls, the stuff you want to be is what dolls are culturally. Yep. And this is actually a really good point. Netflix, I want to say this was last year or 2 years, within the couple years, there was a really good documentary about I'm sure some of you have seen it. It was a Netflix documentary called The Toys That Shaped Us. I think that's what I'm pretty sure it's called The Toys That Shaped Us. And it really spoke to the cultural significance and impact of dolls and toys from earlier generations and how they shaped our culture. I think that would be the way to go about it. Bethany, that's an absolutely great question. So, let's see, I referenced the coaching earlier. I didn't even talk about the editing portion of it. Hold on just a second. I'll pull that back up for a moment. So the way that the editing services work, Bethany, essentially with the editing, what you're paying for is you're paying a fixed price for a one-time experience. So based on whatever package, let's say that your story is like, we'll just say, so let's say your story is 50,000 words. Essentially, you're paying a one-time fee of $550 for a 50,000 word story. What that includes is it includes 2 full edits. You'll basically be you're receiving an editing guide that I give you after I make my edits. So that way you can make your revisions easier. You receive chapter notes or give you a chapter summary. You're going to get 2 specific editing drafts. You're going to get a draft where I go over the developmental edit that focuses on character, plot, and story. And then you'll go through the revision process, and then you'll give it back to me, and I'll go through a proofread that then goes over structure and grammar. I'll also give you a marketability assessment on how are you going to then market your book after publishing it. I'm available 24/7 for my clients. I know I'm chatting through social media all day, every day, but I prioritize my clients because they're paying customers, of course. And then I've actually partnered with a number of publication influencers, and I have some really great resources for how to publish. In a couple weeks on my Creative Right Now podcast, I'll actually be hosting someone from the publishing industry. So that's like super exciting. I think I've just lined that up. So we'll be doing a publishing episode in a couple weeks, but that's a great question, Bethany. So essentially, like all these things, you're just paying the fixed price gives you this whole thing, right? What I found with my clients is the process that usually works is they'll pay the fixed price, and then I'll get the story. I'll do the editing portion. I can either give the story back in increments, or I can do the whole story and then give it back to you. The writer then has to do a review on the manuscript. They go over all of my recommendations because essentially I give them comments in the story itself. I give them a summary of each chapter breakdown and what needs to be improved. And then I also give them an editing guide on how to go about using each of the resources. The author or the writer has to go through that, make revisions, be like, hey, I like this, I don't like this. And then I take the story back and I proofread it. And that is all part of an overall package deal. Bethany, did that answer your question? Does that make sense? I want to make sure that I explain that clearly. A lot of editing services in the industry tend to charge more on a per word count or per word rate. I treat it as more of a package deal. So that way you don't have to worry about the overall thing. You do the one-time payment and then we get started. So I try to make the process simple. You're right. I said Hasbro, but it is Mattel. You're absolutely right about that, Mary. That's an interesting one. If you love dolls, focus on either Voodoo or The Odd Life of Barbie, trying to create a character controlled by men, right? Especially when it's like supposed to be like very pro-feminist. Let's see, Marcella. I explore the nature versus nurture of and how the lives they've lived gradually shape them into their own unique individuals. Yeah, that sounds fun. Marcella, that sounds like a really fun story, actually. Sounds really cool. Let's see. How's the role of dolls changed with the advent of cheap consumer goods replacing artifacts of true cultural value? And of course, this exploration, if you do it well, will be a comment on capitalism. Completely agree. I think there's so many things with like your type of story, Marcella, that you can touch upon, whether with cultural significance, cultural, economic. Yeah, it sounds like you have a great focus on character, on personal growth, which is super cool. I'm like super excited to check out the story. By the way, it sounds like a great story, Marcella. Good luck with the writing journey. Okay, cool. Yeah, I just want to make sure that I was clear. All right. So that was some excellent conversation, some absolutely great questions. I'm glad I was able to touch upon that. Now we're hitting the 110 mark, and I want to make sure that I get into a writing sprint because we can't call ourselves writers unless we get some writing done. So we're going to get into our daily writing sprint. But by the way, let me pull this up. If you've gotten any value out of today's stream, make sure you tap that subscribe button on YouTube or follow button if you're on Facebook or Twitch. So that way you'll be alerted when I go live daily. I stream every single day, Monday through Friday, casual writers group, workshops like this, Kaufman Writes. Saturdays our story critique show. And then Sunday is our Creative Right Now podcast. But this Sunday will be super fun. We're going to do another story time episode. I might like set up a pillow for it. We'll see. We'll have some fun. It's going to be like super like we're going to have a slumber party on Sunday. So make sure you come back. I'm currently reading through what's the book called? Fourth Wing. Apparently nobody likes Fourth Wing. It's kind of funny. I'm like intrigued so far, but I'm only a chapter in. So I'll be giving my feedback and we'll see if hopefully the second chapter improves. Man. Let's see, I'll go now then, but check out our first sketch of Puss in Boots later. Sweet. Yeah, I'm planning on creating because I did just update my website, I'm going to add a community element to it. So that way we can post our Hermes stuff that we got going. When's the full writing sprint Monday? Are we doing Monday being a holiday or are we doing something special? Great question, Bethany. So I'm going to be doing different times next week. I'm probably not going to start advertising this till Sunday, but next week, since I've been doing the streams, I've been streaming at the same time for the past 3 months. 5 p.m. Mountain Time, Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday is 2 p.m. Mountain Time, which is technically 1 p.m. Pacific. It's the same times. I've just gotten back a lot more of my data. And the reason I did this time was I'm like, okay, most writers are probably getting off work by the time around 5. So that seems like a good time. Weekends a little earlier. I just got back my analytics and I've learned that a lot of writers are actually more active and probably have a lot more less like 9-to-5 jobs and more different types of schedules. And my analytics have shown me that writers are actually earlier and available online a little earlier. So I'm going to be playing around with some earlier stream times next week because as a live streamer, the goal for me is I need to be as active as possible at the time when the largest portion of this community is online. That's the way to be successful as a live streamer. As it pertains to Monday, I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided what I'm going to do for Monday. Monday is a holiday and we could do something fun for it. I know usually Mondays are writing sprints. I'm gonna give it some thought. I'm not sure what I want to do for Monday yet, but I'll get back to you. I'll post the schedule on Sunday on the Kaufman's Corner YouTube channel under the community page. So stay tuned. Great question. Okay, so that's what we got for that. Time to get my writing sprint up. All right, that was some great work with Hermes. Okay, and then I need to pull up Last Scarecrow. Wow. By the way, Last Scarecrow, I'm at a really good point in the Last Scarecrow story. I am at a really good point in it right now. All right. And we'll do a 20-minute sprint because we're pushing the hour mark over here. All right. 20 minutes. Perfect. All right. And I'm just literally adjusting the setup. So I have my writing set up over here. All right. I think I'm all set on my end. Let me adjust my screen. All right, here we go. So I got the writing set up on my end. Let me get the music going. All right. And once again, if you're feeling super creative, feel free to confirm in the writing. Only 20 minutes, super easy. Or let's say it's been a long week, feel free to just kick back and relax, and I will write vicariously for the both of us. And I'm at a good point with Last Scarecrow. I'm at a really good point. Okay, we're actually at kind of an intense point in the story, so we're gonna have some fun. All right, we're about to have like a coming to power moment. Okay, I am all ready. I got 20 minutes on the clock. And it's time to write now. Wow. All right. That was a good writing sprint. I felt so successful with that. With my story, I think this chapter 38 was a bit of a challenge for me. The entire mystery and the puzzle. I've been having the characters work towards reaching the last graveyard, which was a huge central turning point, which is basically the end of Act 2 for the story. I've been having them work towards it since God, probably around the 30,000 word mark. So they've been working towards it for a long time. So I've been really asking myself, how do I make this puzzle? How do I give it meaning? How do I make it feel like a puzzle that matters without making it just feel like a puzzle? All the elements of it have to feel impactful, not just as a thing for them to overcome, but as each element that adds to the overall world of the story while also developing the characters and doing world building. And I think it was fun. Essentially the layout is they appear at this graveyard. They've the journey was they resurrected Quill. Quill kept leading them through this graveyard through the same path that never changed, but the graveyard never changed. Quilt just kept circling around a bunch of graves. They realized they had to use fire to go through whatever illusion. The illusion led them to another illusion of a world of creators, humans, of a world gone by, for them to think it was an illusion full of buildings and vehicles and all that jazz, only for them to learn that the illusion itself was once again these characters created by this fog that are all just attacking them. And I think the world building that I've set up, I went back and forth on if I wanted to actually have humans in the story. And I think this is actually really good because the only humans that we're actually seeing are illusions, or is an illusion. So whether or not it's real or fake is still besides we haven't talked about yet. So and then him realizing that the only way to solve that puzzle was that he had to use his ability, but he had to use his ability on the only thing that was not an illusion, which was the tree, which earlier in the chapter, the tree had tried to attack them and they had cut through one of the roots, which had fallen to the ground. That was the only thing that did not disperse in a thing of fog, unlike every single illusion in the world. So I'm really happy with how the overall chapter came out. I know it definitely needs some line editing and some developmental to make it a little clearer, but I'm very happy because now we get to see the backstory of what is the ability, where was the magic hidden that they have been searching for the better part of the story, as the Scarecrow used his memory ability on the tree itself. The tree that is not a tree, but is not an illusion. So we'll get to experience that. I'll continue on that writing sprint tomorrow. The last magic. Oof, gives me chills. I'm excited because we had the last magic and then chapter 40. After we do this backstory is going to be the next big reveal. That's going to be the next big turning point in the story. Oh, I'm so excited. Oof. It's like I'm getting chills. All right, so super stoked about that. Thank you for joining me on this journey. That was a great writing sprint. We had some really great conversations today. Make sure that if you missed out on any of the Hermes, the Puss in Boots, any of that conversation, the copyright infringement, make sure you go watch on the replay. We got some great conversations, great development, and some great strategies on how do we write characters when it could potentially be copyright infringement. So really great. Now, as I look towards tomorrow, story and critique show. So make sure you show up. It's 2 p.m. Mountain Time, our usual Saturday stream. Make sure to send a submission to kaufman@thecreativeghost.com. If you haven't, it will be super fun. Story readings, critiques, and all that jazz. So fun. I have too much fun with those. we'll get to play around with that. And then also make sure to like the stream on your way out. Let me know that you got value. Smash that like button. Help me show the algorithm that these writing streams are fun and entertaining. So that's all that I got for you today, writers. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Stay creative, writers.